Hey, I hope you're doing great. Welcome to phase 2 of blood sugar mastery. We're going to be finding our unique carb tolerance, our UCT. Everyone is different and everyone has a unique carb tolerance. Like how many carbs can you take without gaining weight or throwing off your moods? And I'm going to be talking more about exactly how to do that. But as your gut heals, your carb tolerance is going to change. So this tool that you're going to be learning to use over the next 2 weeks is going to help you for the rest of your life. It's going to help you be able to know how much you can eat without affecting your blood sugar and your weight. So let's just get right into it. Again, this is phase 2 of blood sugar mastery. Okay, so in phase 1, we talked about how to eliminate roadblocks to not only your blood sugar, but also your weight loss. So again, phase 2 is about finding your unique carb tolerance, your UCT is what we call it. And this is how you can find out what works for your body, and you can put an end to the carb drama forever. So how phase 2 works. So you're going to continue to follow the suggestions from the Blood Sugar Mastery Foods list and download suggested meal guides for weeks 3 and 4. Shop for your groceries. Read pages 16 through 23 in the guide and follow the instructions on how to find your UCT in the guide. And then refer to phase 2 suggested meals for the recommended transition meals and the testing schedule. And I'm going to be explaining more about that. And then I'd like you to read Blood Sugar Hacks for Better Sleep handout and choose 1 to 2 strategies to work on. Read pages 23 through 25. If you want to see it in writing too on how to test for your unique carb tolerance. But I'm going to be explaining it in this video also. So how to get started. So step 1 is learning to listen to your body. I know some of you are very tuned in to this. And if you're like I was completely oblivious to every signal and sign that my body was trying to tell me. So the goal is to find out how your body reacts to various meals, and especially the different types and amounts of carbs. So the first thing that you want to notice are your hunger levels. Now, everyone has tracking journal, so you'll be able to just write these down, because don't rely on your memory, because after a while of tracking, you're going to see patterns and you want to be able to have a record of those. And also, you may end up wanting to show them to me to ask questions about the patterns that you come up with. So the first thing you want to pay attention to are your hunger levels. Your appetite is regulated by your blood sugar levels and the hormones, insulin and cortisol. So if you are crazy hungry, a ravenous appetite, your blood sugar may be rising too high after meals. But if you feel fine after eating, but then you're hangry or you feel tired between meals, your blood sugar may be too low between meals. So just pay attention to your hunger levels. I'm going to talk about the timing on that too. But number 2, pay attention to your food cravings. The primary cause of food cravings is changes in your blood sugar levels. When your blood sugar changes, your body responds by craving a specific food group to compensate. Insulin and cortisol are the main hormones for regulating your blood sugar levels, making them one of the primary underlying triggers that are behind the food cravings. Third, number 3, pay attention to your energy levels. Fatigue and low energy, particularly after eating, is another sign of blood sugar imbalance. Blood sugar imbalance puts stress on your body's organs and your hormones, especially the adrenal glands. And increased cortisol production. If you're tired, but eating makes you feel more energized, your blood sugar may be dropping too much between meals. So just pay attention to your energy levels, how you're feeling after you eat. If your energy is way up, it's normal, or you're tired and fatigued. Number 4, pay attention to your moods. Imbalanced blood sugar causes an imbalanced mood. Blood sugar imbalance can make you feel nervous, anxious, and irritable. Some studies suggest depression and anxiety are also linked to blood sugar imbalance. This makes perfect sense as the brain primarily runs on glucose, which is your body's sugar. Number 5, pay attention to your sleep. Both insulin and cortisol influence your sleep patterns. What you eat today will have an impact on how you sleep. If you have been overcarbing, for example, you will have energy highs and lows. Energy fluctuations typically lead to more carbs and usually more caffeine too, which then raises insulin and cortisol. And ultimately, your sleep is disrupted. And because poor sleep can cause problems with blood sugar control, it creates a vicious cycle. You've got to get your sleep. So definitely download the hacks for better sleep and try 1 or 2 things if you are having trouble sleeping, but I want you to keep track of your sleep also on your tracker. And make sure you're sleeping in a dark room with no electronics, and work on getting at least 8 hours of sleep if you're not already. And keep track if you're having insomnia, if you're waking up in the middle of the night and you can't go back to sleep, or anything that's going on with your sleep, just write it in the journal. Okay, so in this phase 2, what we're going to do is reintroduce and test some carbs. So every day we have, the done for you option, which is we have it laid out where 1 meal a day you're going to be testing for a particular starchy carb. And it's on page 18 in the Blood Sugar Mastery Guide, and it's also written into the menu plans of weeks 3 and 4, days 15 through 28. So let me see what I put in my notes for this. The do-it-yourself option, the DIY option, you select a 1/2 cup of 1 starchy or sugary carb. Now, I'm not talking about donuts and candy here. I'm talking about sweet potatoes and chickpeas. I mean, you'll see the list of them in the foods list, but you just take a 1/2 cup of those for 1 meal during the day, and you create a balanced meal by adding a protein and a healthy fat. For example, a 1/2 cup of quinoa, 1 cup of baby greens, and 1 small chicken breast. and olive oil and lemon for dressing. That would be an example of a meal. Now, the done for you option is where I've laid out the suggested meal guides for days 15 to 28. And my done for you schedule provides you with a step-by-step carb testing schedule and the suggested meals. So you don't have to figure it out. And only cook what you need. Make a note of the serving size of the recipes and just adjust as needed. So the foods to reintroduce in phase 2, this is the done for you option. The suggested carb testing schedule is days 15 to 28. Usually after the first 14 days, you've already got your blood sugar in normal ranges. So you're usually ready to go on. So you can see that for the done for you option, we have all these carbs for you to test each day. There's only one per day because sometimes symptoms and signs and things will come up on the next day. So what you'll do is try a half a cup of these carbs with the meal, the balanced meal that we discussed. And some of them, as you can see, are lunch, some of them are dinner, and some of them are breakfast. So kind of switch it up a little bit so you've got more time in between the meals and for your body to readjust and come back into balance. And so if you don't do well on these, you feel like you ate too many carbs because you're paying attention to your symptoms and you know that your blood sugar went way up, then the next time you test that particular carb, only use a 1/4 cup serving size of that carb. If you have trouble with that, just let me know. But the other way that you can do that, it's always preferable for me for you to just be able to read the signals of your body, because now I know that if I eat something that's got too much sugar for me or ate too much of it, my blood sugar goes way up and I feel it like within 30 minutes. And so if you're just not able to read the signs and symptoms that your body's telling you, then it is okay. And this is for if you want to lose weight, to eat the meal with the carb in it, and 30 minutes, within 30 minutes after you eat, your blood sugar should be back to the number it was when you started eating. So before these meals, test your blood sugar. Let's just say it's 100. Eat your meal, and 30 minutes after you're finished eating, take your blood sugar again. And it should be within 15 points of where it was when it started. And the reason I'm saying 15 is because the glucometer has a margin of error of about 15. And so, and you're really wanting to get back to that number that it was. And that's how you know also your portion size. If you ate too much, it could be that carb, or you just ate too much in general. Because everyone is different and this changes over time. And so I definitely want you to note if you're getting bloating, gas, any signs that your gut is upset by whatever you ate. So just write it all down and we'll just start to see if there are any patterns that show up for you. So if you have any questions about this, just shoot me a message. I'll be happy to answer you. But again, take your blood sugar with the glucometer right before you eat one of these meals. And let's just say, for example, it's 100. Eat your meal. It usually takes 15, 20 minutes to eat. And then 30 minutes after that, after you finish eating, take your blood sugar again, and it should be within 15 points of where it was before you ate. So if that doesn't make sense to you, just let me know. If it's a lot higher, it means one of two things: that you either ate too much or that carb did not agree with you. So the next time you test that carb, you'll knock it down to a 1/4 cup serving instead of a 1/2 cup and see how you do. Step 3, again, assess your symptoms, adjust your serving size, and retest the carb again. Observe your symptoms. This is basically, what I just said. I'm saying it again. Number 1, assess your symptoms 30 minutes after you finish eating. And then assess your symptoms again 1 to 2 hours after eating. Are you feeling hangry? Are you feeling tired, fatigued? Just write down whatever you're feeling. And we already went through what those symptoms mean sometimes. But again, you can always test your blood sugar too if you want to know for sure if you're reading the signal correctly. And that's what I used to do before I knew how to read those signals. I know what my body signals are. But when I was first learning how to do this, I would feel super tired after I ate, or fatigued where I couldn't hold my eyes open for one more second. And so I would test my blood sugar to make sure that I was reading that correctly, that yes, my blood sugar is too high. So now I know, and this is a lifetime skill that you'll be able to use forever, because this changes. This changes as our gut heals, as we get better with this, as we lose weight, if we're in more or less stressful situations. It changes all the time. So you've got to know your signals. Step 4, continue testing. You will eat some things and you'll know exactly how your body's going to handle it. Carb tolerance, again, can change as we age and during hormone shifts, such as perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause. And there's a zillion things that can change our blood sugar, but we're going to talk about that in a second here. What if you have little to no carb tolerance? Like you eat like 2 chickpeas and your blood sugar goes through the roof or something. So if you're not finding your carb tolerance, it could be because you're reacting to all the carbs you're testing. So then, you might want to dive deeper, investigate further. And of course, I can help you do this. But you could have something that's called leaky gut, which is gut permeability. It means that your small intestine is basically, it isn't working right because there was too much sugar and junk food that has just basically torn it up. But it can heal. But when you're first starting out, it gives you a super low carb tolerance. And as time goes on and you heal that leaky gut with better food choices and the right fats and the right balance in your meals, your gut will heal. And second one would be histamine. Are you having allergic reactions to food? And so there could be some foods that you're allergic to. Could also be you're sensitive to them or you're just intolerant of them. And so that's another reason that we do the tracking, so that we can start to see patterns. Like, hey, I personally had an intolerance to blueberries. Well, everyone thinks blueberries are healthy for you. But while my gut was healing, and I still had a really bad leaky gut, every time I ate blueberries, I would just get bloated and feel nauseous and feel tired after meals. And they were making my blood sugar just go sky high. And so just because a food is touted as healthy doesn't mean that it's healthy for you right now. And again, that will change over time. Fourth thing that can make you have no or little to no carb tolerance would be if you have some kind of an infection in your gut. And again, I talked about the last one already. If you have food allergies, intolerances, sensitivities, and the tracking will really help you figure out which ones of those they are. Food allergies, you usually have a reaction right away. Intolerances, you usually have a reaction, within 1 or 2 hours. Sensitivities, though, they're sneaky. They can take 24 to 48 hours to show up. So there's a lot of people that have gluten sensitivities. Now, we're not eating gluten right now because that's one of the foods that so many people are sensitive to. And it is said that it could be the cause of leaky gut. I'll go into some other video, but that doesn't show up sometimes for 24 to 48 hours, that it causes a lot of migraines, dizziness, things that seem like vertigo, and you're just really tired or you're out of sorts, or a lot of different signals. Sometimes you break out in hives or rash. It just depends. And so that's why we want to track, because you're not going to probably remember what you ate 2-3 days ago, and that every time you eat that 2 or 3 days later, you get a migraine or something. So that's why we're tracking. So important to do that. Some people just say, oh, yeah, whatever. But definitely track, because you want to see those patterns. Testing. Well, I know it's important, for you to know what's going on with your insulin and your blood sugar levels. Keep in mind that testing is only part of the story. Your symptoms also matter. So you want to pay attention to the signs and signals that your body's giving you. And here are a list of some of the lab tests that at the end of the next 14 days, it would be great if you went and got these tests through your doctor. Your doctor has to order these. The A1C, oh my goodness, they have it on here. I have a typo here, but anyway, it's A1C. The hemoglobin A1C is your glucose, kind of like your blood sugar number. An average sort of the last 90 days is kind of what it's a rough estimate of. And, the last 2 to 3 months, and it measures by the percentage of the hemoglobin in your blood, the glycogen hemoglobin in your blood. And the number that your doctor is looking for you to be diagnosed with pre-diabetes or diabetes, like you want to have that A1C under 5.5. As long as I've been on this plan now for a few months, that A1C for me now is at 4.8, and you don't want it to go lower than, say, 4.4, 4.2, somewhere in that range. So 4.8 is just perfect. 5.0 is perfect. But if you're between 5.5 and some doctors go to 6.5, they're going to tell you that you're verging on pre-diabetes. Well, I mean, there's really no difference, in my opinion, from pre-diabetes to diabetes. I mean, it means the same thing. And once you go past 6.5 to 7.0, then they say you're diabetic. And even at 6.0, some doctors will try to put you on medication because they don't know how to make the diet and lifestyle changes. They're not trained in that arena. They are trained to give medication to bring the blood sugar down. But as we've been talking about for the last month, 2 weeks, insulin is one of the things that a doctor will try to give you. Well, if you have too much insulin and you have too much cortisol, it's going to make you store fat. Insulin is the fat storage hormone. So if you're already on insulin, no problem. I was on it too, and it made it super difficult to lose weight. But once I was able to bring my A1C down to 5.5, my doctor said, you don't need that anymore, Tami. Go ahead and stop taking that. And that's when I was able to really let some weight go, really release that. Okay, the fasting glucose number, that is the main energy source of the cells in the body. This is the one that can be tested in your blood or in your urine. And it's usually, you know, after you haven't eaten anything for 12 hours. So that's the one that we look at in the mornings when we first get up, because we haven't eaten since dinner the night before. And your fasting insulin. This is actually a blood test. We can't test this at home, but you know, it helps regulate your lipid metabolism, which is your fats. And this test measures the amount of insulin in your blood. So again, you don't want too much insulin and you don't want too much glucose in your blood, but you do have to have some. It's not like we can get rid of it because our body needs it for our energy and our brain function and every function in our body. We run on glucose. Cortisol. Most of the cortisol blood is bound, meaning that it's bound to a protein, and only a small percentage of it is free and active. So the free and active is what is measured in the blood test. It can also be measured in urine, but the most common test is to give you a little test kit and you spit in the test tube 4 times a day. When you first wake up, in the morning, I don't know, around lunchtime, in the evenings, and then at bedtime, because you want your cortisol to look like a ski slope. I made another video about hormones in that where I showed a picture of it, but in the evenings, your cortisol goes up while you're sleeping so that when you wake up in the morning, it's at its highest level, and then it gradually goes off during the day. Let me stop this share for a minute so I can show you what I'm talking about. It looks like a ski slope. So when you wake up in the morning, it's at its highest, it goes down the ski slope. About 9, 10 o'clock at night is that when it's at its lowest point, and that's the best time for you to go to bed. If you stay up past that low cortisol wave, you miss your wave, that's what I call it, your cortisol starts to go up, and it's practically impossible to go to sleep after that. So you want to go to sleep when your cortisol is at its lowest in the evenings. But talking about testing here, usually that's the most common test. But if you have stressors during the day that make your cortisol jump up, cortisol is the stress hormone. If you have, you know, something happens or you get in an argument or something and your cortisol goes up, that smooth ski slope just gets all out of balance. And as soon as your cortisol goes up, your insulin goes up too. So just continue monitoring. And again, the sugar highs, you have difficulty focusing. These are all the signs that you're looking for: fatigue and feeling lethargic, food cravings that aren't satisfied by eating, headaches, hunger even after you ate, increased thirst, mid-belly fat, vision disturbances. Vision disturbances, like things are flickering, you see little lights and stuff like that. The other one for vision disturbances were I used to wake up in the morning and it felt like I had cut glass in my eyes. And that was a blood sugar high symptom, but I didn't know it at the time. Whoops. Okay, then I goofed that up. So let me show you the lows, if I can get back to it. The low blood sugar signs, the cravings for carbs, sugar, and caffeine, excess sweating, fatigue relieved by eating. Go back to cravings for carbs, sugar, and caffeine. That can also be a sign that you didn't have enough sleep the night before. So that's why you're tracking your sleep too. Sometimes you just feel off, nervous, anxious, jittery when you haven't eaten, hangry, feel nervous, hungry between meals, headaches, lightheaded, dizzy, or foggy brain, nausea. So what throws off your balance? Alcohol, certain medications, birth control pills, some of the hormone replacement therapies, if your cortisol is imbalanced, exposure to toxins. This is one that we don't usually think about, but it can affect your blood sugar. High blood pressure, very common too. If you've got diabetes going on, high blood pressure is very common. But, you know, everything in the body is one big ecosystem and it all works together. Hormone imbalances, when one hormone is off balance, especially the master hormones like insulin and cortisol, all the other hormones can be imbalanced. Inflammation, you know, sugary foods, a lot of things going on that cause inflammation. If you're eating things that you're allergic to or sensitive to or intolerant to, that also causes inflammation. A lot of things. And for this inflammation, I'm talking about chronic inflammation. It's at the root of nearly every chronic illness, especially autoimmunities. So you want to get your inflammation in check. One of the biggest things I found for inflammation is causing it is sugary foods, and the other one is hydrogenated oils, the seed oils. Those make inflammation go crazy. Lack of sleep and poor quality sleep throws off your balance. Not enough exercise. Now, I do not recommend starting out, if you're in the healing mode, of any strenuous, aerobic, crazy exercise. I'm talking about some gentle movement, like walking, stretching, maybe jumping on the little rebounder trampoline. Just easy going. You know, everyone's different, so you're going to start where you are. If you can't even walk, then we're going to be doing stretches in your chair. I moved some little free weights into my kitchen. So every time I go in my kitchen, I'm doing about 10 curls. You know, it's really helping me, but it's not too strenuous, because strenuous exercise will make your cortisol go up. I'm just going to say that bluntly, because it's causing stress on your body. And so you're doing everything you can to keep your cortisol in check, keeping it calm. Overcarbing, of course, throws off your balance. Overeating, over stressing. Those three things are the biggies. Processed and refined foods, theirs are usually loaded with chemicals and toxins and hidden sugars. Sometimes it's not even hidden sugars, they just put sugar on there. Anyway, those will really throw off your balance. And an irregular eating schedule. So I want you to just start eating 3 meals a day, morning, noon, and night. And I'd like you to eat between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. in the evening. Give yourself a window. And we have been snacking in the first 2 weeks, but I want you to eliminate that snacking because I want you to be able to read the signals that you're getting from the meals. And of course, sugar throws off your balance, and too much caffeine can also throw off your balance. That can give you the cortisol bumps. So thank you. If you have any questions about phase 2 or anything else in this program, just come into Facebook, send me a message, reach out to me, and I'll be happy to try to answer your question. Thank you so much again. Hope you're having a great time, and we're going to have fun over the next 2 weeks finding your unique carb tolerance. So reach out if you have any questions. No problem. Thank you.